Hello, everyone. We're going to continue talking about wage rates in part 2 of this module. Contract costs are broken down into two classifications. We've got our direct and then also our indirect costs. The direct costs are basically all of your known expenditures that are really going to be associated with the project, okay? So just as a few examples that we have on here, subcontractors, materials and supplies, your equipment rentals, bonds, permits, things to that nature are really that direct cost is strictly related to that project. Then we have our indirect costs that we have to consider that all should be a part of that final burden rate calculation. Remember us talking about that in part 1. Here we're looking at workers' compensation, general liability, and automobile insurance, motor vehicle and equipment repairs, maintenance, depreciation, field communication expenses, employee benefits such as your health, life, disability, profit sharing bonuses, or any of that nature, 401k, and then of course your payroll taxes. Now let's talk a little bit about the pricing and how this can be set up. For the most part, I really just wanted to talk about more so the material pricing because this is very typical that what you would typically see in our industry. It makes use of unit prices that are applied to listed takeoff quantities to then calculate the total labor or equipment price for the work involved. And like I said, the industry, they really do use this particular method the most. And there's a basic formula for use of material costs, and that is material price equals your quantity times your material unit price. I wanted to provide a few examples so the next couple of slides have examples for you to look at. But let's start at the very, very beginning. The first thing you're going to do, of course, is going to be your quantity takeoff, okay? And especially for self-perform work when you're buying materials or having someone else do the installation, it's very good to do. And then after you get through doing your quantity takeoff, you're going to request quotes. And kind of a rule of thumb, it would be at least from 3 material suppliers or subcontractors, okay? But the main important thing here to remember is that you should always have your own quantity takeoff, okay? Because you want to make sure that at the end of the day that you've thought about everything that's going to be included in this project. And if there are some questions and you're looking and comparing apples to oranges, you're like, well, okay, why are they so low? Well, then you can begin to question a few things, and that really can help you decide overall, yeah, this is the subcontractor that we need to go with, or vice versa, okay? So let's say you get your quotes. So we've got 3 quotes from different suppliers, subcontractors. After you request your quote from those 3 suppliers, you attach a copy of your takeoff to their quote, okay? And you specify as much additional information as possible, and that's going to be very important. You want to make sure that they have included everything that's going to cover the actual scopes of work for that project. So if they're, for instance, looking at things such as additional like concrete strengths, or maybe it's model number and make, or perhaps it's something like your product type. All of this stuff would be important to just make sure that you're checking what's included in that quote. A couple other things just to go through, evaluating your quote. When quotes come in, you read them very carefully, and then you're going to verify the following factors. So all of this stuff that I have listed as bulleted points would be things that you really want to verify. This is an example of a quote that was given, MADOC's Residential and Commercial Services for Electrical Division. And this is actually a real project from a contractor here locally. That they gave me this project, and this is one of the quotes, one of the bids that they got in. This is RPM Water Supply is the project, and they're actually going over with you a description of what's all included in this proposal. And I give you a total price here of $24,249. With this, you'll see that under the bottom it has some additional information underneath the bottom remarks. okay? And this is what I mean by making sure that you look at that bid that you're getting in, and you're going to take the time, you're going to look at that quote, you're going to do a little bit of investigation. You know, you're not just going to take their word for it, but make sure that you look at that dotted line and you check, you know, what is included in this price overall, okay? That's very crucial, very important. Another thing to consider, and it just something that just popped up in my mind, is if, for instance, they include like an alternate price or alternate material, and they put that down. One of the things, though, that you would have to do is to make sure that that alternate material would be okay and it needs to be approved. So there are some things that you could put in your overall quotes to say if you wanted to go with that particular quote. Then when you get ready to turn in your overall bid, you could put in there the alternates, just so that they can make a decision on whether they want to go with something like that. Or it could be that of a phone call and just checking on various things as well. And so I guess to say at the end of the day, you know, it's no different than when you try to get a job as a contractor, as a subcontractor, suppliers, you know, they're trying to get a job as well. And it's not always going to be about the lowest bid. It's really about that responsive bidder, the responsive bidder that's going to look at and all of the scope of work that's required for what they're supposed to do, and they make sure that they cover their bases so that they don't miss anything. So that's very, very important when you include that particular price in your estimate. Then we have pricing in the summary form. So now, you know, we've done our recap sheets and everything, but we're going to end up putting this into a pricing of a summary. And like I said in the previous lectures, you're going to break these up by divisions. So all of the divisions that were within your project manual should be included on this summary overall. This is just a breakdown of showing you for site work, and it's telling you what division site work's under, and it's breaking it down bit by bit. And that's very important because, say for instance, if the client asks you a question about something that's specific, you could actually refer to it and say, well, this is how much that it costs for that specific thing that you want to know about. And that's why I think it's so great to follow the CSI master format, because it does give you a guide that you can follow, and that way you won't miss anything within that project manual if you follow the guidelines the way you're supposed to. And the last thing is, once you do have your overall summary of everything, you're going to add and include in there any kind of extra allowances that may be included. You're going to look at your overhead and profit. You want to include that in there. Okay, this is an overall summary that's showing you, after you do your overall estimate, you're going to have these extras that you're going to be including, okay? So there's a lot that goes into overall, in general, we're talking about pricing, and we'll get more into this throughout the semester, of course, and how you do your pricing. Typically for us, we're going to end up using the RS Means book because we need to have something to go by. But when you do start working, you'll have those quotes from subcontractors, and that's going to help out quite a bit. And that's, you know, the real world scenario. And also that historical data that you have, that helps you to figure out your overall summary estimates as well. So this includes this particular module, and we will talk a little bit more about this semester. Thank you.